Gregg Harper's in on this Friday, former Congressman, Mississippi 3rd District. You miss it at all now that we've gone this far out, and do you see what's going on?
Well, last week coming back from D.C. and last night coming back from D.C., major travel delays both days. I don't miss that at all, Paul. I do miss seeing my friends as much as I used to. So that's the part that I do miss. I still get to stay in touch, and I'm up there a couple times a month, but it's on my schedule, not the speaker's schedule.
What are you doing full-time now?
Well, I'm with Watkins & Eager doing government affairs-related work, lobbying work, most of it in D.C., some in Mississippi, and thankful to do that. It's a great group I'm with, and thankful for that very much.
Very good. Manhattan DA's indictment is focusing on Article 175 of the New York penal law, which is falsifying business records in the first degree. And again, as you mentioned and related a few moments ago, everybody's turned this down. Everybody said, look, at best, this is crazy to go after somebody. It's almost like a parking ticket, to be honest with you. And you have to twist that. In layman's terms, this means that Alvin Bragg has to prove that Trump is guilty of falsifying business records and knowing what his intent was, and then prove he did so with the intention of committing a second crime. And that's almost impossible to do, but is it just for show?
It certainly is a show. Now, whether that's the only purpose or not, I don't know. We were catching, some discussion that there were going to be like 34 counts to this indictment, which is just, pretty bizarre. If that's the case, I don't know how they come up with that. So we do have to wait to see what is in it. And what's going to, how it's going to be worded, what they're actually charging. But Paul, this is not the only issue. There are potentially 3 other places that he could get indicted.
Yes.
So I mean, look, we know this, Paul. If President Trump had ridden off into the sunset after the 2020 election, nobody would be bothering him now. Nobody. They're afraid of him. That's the way it is. Well, they don't want him to be a reelected president.
Look what he threatens. When a guy has no strings attached, and this is as close as you're ever going to get to a politician not having any strings attached. Look what he threatens, and we're not talking about millions of dollars. We're probably not even talking about billions of dollars. Long term, we're talking trillions of dollars. I mean, this is way up there. Between China, all the things going on with China, with the Ukraine, with all of the different things that happen as far as deregulations and everything else. This guy right here threatens the power base. I mean, he's already said, "I'm going to clean out the FBI." Christopher Wray is gone.
Well, at this point, there certainly are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and an agency that we've always had great respect for has been politicized. So it's I think that's the concern. Is there a lot that want to just keep the status quo, and they're afraid that he may come in and clean house. And look, here's where we are. We were in the best shape we could possibly be. If COVID doesn't happen, Trump is overwhelmingly reelected. We know that. And how you can run a country into the ground like Biden has done in this short period of time is just, defies explanation. And so regardless, we've got the thing we have to focus on, whether it's Trump or somebody else, this country needs to have a Republican president elected in the next time.
Florida will not assist in the extradition request of Trump. That's the statement that Ron DeSantis released, I think it was late yesterday. He wrote, "The weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda turns the rule of law on its head. It is un-American. The Soros-backed Manhattan district attorney has consistently bent the law to downgrade felonies and to excuse criminal misconduct." I would think that the Trump indictment has George Soros having a political orgasm when he turns on CNN constantly because he's getting his money's worth. I want to switch over to a couple of other things here, and I mentioned this earlier this morning, and your take on this. There's, and I don't think people understand this, but disinformation is so powerful. The Russians used it. Remember, we were talking about earlier on a different show that the Russians employed actually more people, or was it Germany, employed more people in the art of disinformation than if they had soldiers. So this is important. And if it was an old repeater rifle, a stark revelation or a revolution in the modernization of weaponry back then. As far as disinformation is concerned, now it's a laser-guided missile with technology that we have. Who knows what it's going to be with AI? That's a little scary. But
that's AI, not AU, right? I want to be sure after Perez's story earlier.
It is strictly a different type of metal in itself. Here is what of the shooting. I want to turn our attention to the Nashville shooting. Here is what KJP said.
And one of the things that we saw during the midterm elections is that people don't want their freedoms to be taken. They want us to fight for their freedoms. And so it is shameful, it is disturbing, and our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now.
So with these people dying, 6 people dying in Nashville, she says her heart goes out to the trans community. I mean, that's about as out of touch with society as you could possibly get.
Yeah, I mean, look, Paul, the only place for our hearts to go out are certainly with the families that have been impacted. And it impacts the whole country, but certainly the families in the community there. And look, this is not how this person was raised. We know that from their home, and this has destroyed her family as well. And I've already read that her 2 sisters have both lost their jobs as a result of her actions. So if you want to think about anybody, think about the family that didn't really do anything wrong, but they're in the middle of this too. But the ones that lost lives, and the little girl was the daughter of the pastor. They're at Covenant Presbyterian, and that's where our focus needs to be. But these are things that immediately the left jumped on gun control issues instead of worrying about the families that were there, and that's where we need to keep our focus.
Talked about the trans and also racism being connected in a way, and here's my point on this one. Because as a baby boomer, I can look at this differently than people of a different generation. Where we came from up through the civil rights movement, the integration of schools, the black water fountain, the white water fountain, and we have still people, it's just from baby boomers experience this, as you well know. But when you look at the progress that we have made without all of the other noise out there in politics, if you let society be society, we all gradually were getting to the point, almost like homosexuality. I mean, the homosexuality, the acceptance of homosexuality in our society, in our church, in our workplace, were thousands of miles better than they were in the 60s, were they not? I mean, it was to the point of what, look, it doesn't matter to me. Do what you want to do. Don't force me to do it, but do what you want to do. Racism went from where we are in the 60s, and if you let natural progression take its course, gentrification of neighborhoods, black-owned businesses, et cetera, a heck of a lot better. But politics had to be politics. And we had to have people like Joe Biden and Barack Obama fan these flames, and they're using both of those two things for political gain. Well, do you see that connectivity?
There's certainly, as someone who was born and lived during that civil rights movement and things that I would ask my parents about, why is it that way? They never could give an explanation. And so, it's, I remember going to a dentist office, and it was whites and coloreds, two different
waiting rooms. Nobody wants to go back to that. Come on.
And so I would just say we don't want to forget that happened. But if we spend, here's the thing, Paul. I don't even agree with myself all the time, okay? But if I spend time with other people, maybe of different views, you usually wind up liking each other. And if you will just show a little compassion, would be a better place. Yeah, we've come a long ways. I mean, the 2 museums is a phenomenal deal here in Mississippi. The National Museum of African American History and Culture, if you go to D.C., is something you really want to go see.
I agree with you. We have. I think we're slipping back because we have so much animosity now between the races. But again, I think it's been manufactured. And the Democrats have a lot of things to gain. Number one, they're working on the gun situation. I want to go into the gun situation, and also If you haven't heard this, can you stick around for a couple of days?
Sure.
A couple of minutes,
now a couple of days might be a stretch, but certainly another segment.
I have got a cut that you have got to hear.
All
Did you hear about the app that we're using on the border?
I have not.
You are going to love this.
Can't wait.
You are going to love this. We're using an app on the border. Of course, they're giving the phone free, but that's how they use the free app. That is coming up. You don't want to miss it. Back with that and more next. Back with Gregg Harper, former Congressman, 3rd District. You know, the last time we were on, I think it was you and Dr. What was it, Campbell? Who was it?
Dr. Brad Ingram.
From Dr.
UMMC.
Brad Ingram, that's right. We're talking about Fragile X and some of the research going on there, and your son. Is there any update on that?
Yeah, certainly appreciate you asking that. As you know, Livingston, my son, has Fragile X syndrome, and he does well, but there are a lot of issues that we deal with Fragile X. And so Dr. Ingram at UMMC, they are one of the trial sites for a gel. It's called the Reconnect program. Mm-hmm. And so there is a gel that's applied that helps on social avoidance, but it's got to get through the process. We need more participants, and so there are sites all over the country. So if any of the listeners know of anyone with Fragile X syndrome between the ages of 3 and 22 years of age, expenses are paid. If you have to fly to the site, your room and board, whatever time it takes, it's a great thing. It will help on social avoidance and behavior. Yeah. And so we really would hope that there'll be enough participants we can get this through and somewhere in the future, Paul, get FDA approval to use this because Livingston's more than age 22, and we'd love to have this option. It would be the first medication specifically for Fragile X syndrome if it gets approved.
It is that rare, though.
You know, it is. There are a lot of people that have Fragile X syndrome that don't know they've got it. A lot of autism diagnoses. Just kind of as a catch-all, I would certainly recommend be tested for Fragile X as well.
We were talking about the app in California, and if you haven't heard this, was Josh Hawley in the Senate when you were in the House?
Yes.
You ever meet him?
Just in passing. No real visits with him. He didn't serve in the House first, so I didn't get a chance to really get to know him.
He has taken a lot of fire because I think he is a prospective future presidential candidate. I mean, the guy is sharp. He's well-spoken. But he was asking and grilling Mayorkas about this app.
A new phone app called CBP One, an app for a cell phone. This phone app allows, and I'm going to quote from your own fact sheet, it allows, and I quote, non-citizens without appropriate documents for admission to schedule an appointment to come to the border. They can now go on their phone and schedule a time to come to the border and then be admitted. And you identified 7 separate border points of entry where they could come. 5 of them in Texas, 2 of them in California, 1 in Arizona. It's like a concierge service for illegal immigrants. My question is, you didn't think the border crisis was bad enough that now we're going to have an app that allows illegals to schedule their appointments and come and be admitted to this country?
Is that incredible or what?
I just don't know what to say, Paul. But I guess with the app, then it's kinder for next. And we have to be real careful. We want to stop them from coming across the border. Next, we'll want to stop them from voting. I mean, we've got to be really careful. We don't appear too mean here.
We're already gone so far on this one. It's just absolutely amazing.
It's stunning. And, of course, I'm sure on part of that they'd say, and if you don't have a phone, come here, we'll give you a phone. Then you can load the app and you can make the appointment. So it's, and we'll feed you and pay you a little money along the way. I mean, it's bizarre.
There's no chance to get this guy impeached. I mean, he's got to be the worst of the worst.
Let me ask you about the Chinese nationals who we all saw coming over the border, busloads of them, and then being released in the American interior. What's the percentage increase of Chinese nationals who crossed the border this year, Mr. Secretary? Let's just focus on maybe the Rio Grande Valley sector.
The number of Chinese nationals encountered at our southern border has increased significally.
Do you know how much?
Over the past, I don't have the precise percentage.
I do. It's 900% just in the Rio Grande Valley sector. Are any of these people who came in this bus, these Chinese nationals, members of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, If an individual presents a national security or public safety threat, we detain them during the pendency.
But that's not what I asked. I asked if they're members of the CCP.
During the pendency of their removal proceedings.
Are any of these individuals members of the CCP?
So
I think there's about 70 who came on this bus.
If indeed they are determined to be a national security threat or a threat to public safety, we detain them pending their removal proceedings.
Were any of these individuals detained, or were they released into the interior of the country?
I don't have awareness of that particular group of individuals.
And so you don't know if any of them were members of the CCP? Or actually, you do know, you just won't say.
Yeah. I don't know from the photograph, Senator, to whom.
But surely you know about the folks who you've read this report, you're the Secretary of Homeland Security, you're aware of these individuals. Were any of them members of the Chinese Communist Party coming into this country?
Senator, you're providing me with a group of individuals without names, identities,
So you're not familiar with this incident that was widely reported on at the southern border? Don't you think it's strange that we have busloads of Chinese nationals coming across our southern border? I'm asking you, from a hostile country, I'm asking you if they're members of the Chinese Communist Party, and you don't know. Apparently, you won't say.
Well, just call them. They got a phone.
Yeah, just use your app and figure it out. But I mean, he never answered the question, and that was a great line of questioning by the senator. But look, so he wasn't going to say if you're from China, you're probably part of the Communist Party.
Sure.
And no business coming in. And I understand they are not. How did they get to the southern border from China? Who helped them get there? I mean, there's a plan. These folks in China, they have a plan, and it includes world domination, and we better wake up.
One of the most useless hearings, and I know you've conducted some hearings too, one of the most useless hearings in putting somebody under oath, if they did, was the guy from TikTok. You think a Communist Party member is going to worry about whether or not he's telling the truth or not? It's kind of funny.
That is very, very true.
By
Bizarre.
the way, when you're talking about the app itself, proving to you that this guy has been the absolute Guinness Book of World Records leader in failures. Even the app, as bad as that is, to say, we're secure down there. It's secure. But the app doesn't work.
As with any new system, it takes a while for it to develop, and we continue to expand that. One of the things that we recognized about a month ago is that there were some gaps, some language gaps, and some gaps that the migrants generally couldn't understand within the app itself.
That was a deterrence from...
Wait. I want you to hear this. Now, I want you to interpret this for me from Karim.
That was a deterrence from coming to the border and away from...
app itself.
That was a deterrence from coming to the border and a way for them to stay at home and find a way and use the app to come into the U.S.
Now, how do you explain what you just said?
Paul, I'm stunned, but I guess we need to have a better app to make it easier. Migrants, were these the illegals that we might have referred to? Yeah. I mean, it's just...
She said it was intended to help them stay at home so they'd have a better chance at... One more time here, because I think it's important.
Itself.
That was a deterrence from coming to the border and a way for them to stay at home and find a way and use the app to come into the U.S.
We are living in a bizarre universe, sir.
Paul, look, if the app was better, we'd have more people coming across the border illegally, is what I took that. I mean, it's just like, you've got to be kidding me. Paul, and to think where we were on border security just a little over 2 years ago, and that it could be turned around like this is just stunning. And it is a national security issue, and we need to keep that focus on electing a president in 24 who believes in border security and not having people come across the border that mean us harm. And you can bet there will be an amazing increase in the number of communist Chinese that come in.
Thomas had a good point on ceasefire text line. He said that they want him to be the nominee, talking about Trump. That's an easy win for Biden, and companies, since voting against Trump is more appealing to dim voters than voting for Biden, which... If there was any accuracy in the last election, I think Thomas is right. But he is right to the point of this, that they win both ways. they either get him indicted, he will not run, or they will damage him so much and stoke more and more hatred against this guy to get more people out to have Biden the nominee again. So you are right. And I've often said this, these people are failures as far as liberals in competition and everything else, but they are masters when it comes to playing black belt in dirty politics.
Well, and of course, this will backfire in this regard. For the time being, you're going to see an increase in the support for Trump, and both sides are going to raise a lot of money off of this indictment.
And Trump already has, and it continues, so we'll watch that one. Hey, man, thank you for spending some time with us this morning.
Paul. Always great to be with you.
On the Fragile X, again, you got a website or something that they can go to?
I will get that to you, but you can go to UMMC Reconnect,
it's there? Okay.
And it'll pull the stuff up for you.
Reconnect on UMMC.
That's it.
Mr. Congressman, I thank you, sir.
Thank you, Paul.
As always.
Pleasure to be with you again.
We stay in this mode.